Hi, I'm your State Representative Annette Glenn. Thank you for tuning in to this edition of Hometown Heroes. Each episode of Hometown Heroes will feature community leaders, local nonprofits, and others who make a significant positive impact in the 98th District. The place we call home has so much to be proud of. I hope you enjoy learning from our hometown heroes. As always, if you ever have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to contact my office. Enjoy the show.
Hello, I'm John Perry, and welcome to Hometown Heroes with Representative Annette Glenn. And Representative Glenn, nice to see you. Who are your hometown heroes for today?
John, we are blessed and privileged to have Scott Lytle, the Executive Director of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and Matt Collins, who's in charge of communications and events. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
We are excited to have you here. Well, let's just jump right in. Why don't you give us an overview of Big Brothers Big Sisters?
Sure. I mean, in its simplest form, Big Brothers Big Sisters is a mentoring organization. So what we're really trying to do is ignite the power and the promise of youth. We're trying to bring out their potential, which we know is in every child, but we're really looking at children that maybe don't have that opportunity on a daily basis.
You had anything you want to tell us about your side?
Yes. Well, we have a lot of youth around our community who maybe have never quite had the opportunity to have that caring adult mentor in their life before, and maybe are missing some of the experiences that a lot of people might consider fundamental for kids. So whether it be something like, cooking a meal together, or even just having that opportunity to sit down and have a deep conversation about what's going on in school or in life, and that's really something that our programs are able to serve our kids with throughout the community.
So you are really targeting a specialized group. How do you find these kids?
So for us, it's community awareness for sure, but it's also reaching out to different organizations throughout the nonprofit world, schools, churches, and we really focus on helping kids that are facing challenges. A lot of times those kids are single-parent households living in poverty or the ALIS threshold. And it's, again, like Matt said, is providing them that positive adult role model to help guide them, help mentor them, be a resource for them that they may not have on a daily basis.
So regionally, do you guys deal mostly with the city of Midland, the county? What's your reach?
We are a unique organization that we're definitely regional, the Great Lakes Bay region. So we serve Midland, Saginaw Bay, and Isabella counties. So we have a wide footprint, and we have 12 staff members, 7 dedicated match coordinators to work those areas and to make and maintain those matches.
So I know where the office is in Midland. Do you have offices in the other locations as well?
Absolutely. We have an office in each of the counties that we serve. We want to make sure that we're in those counties, as they're all very different. And the populations that we serve need to be able to come to the office in their location and not have to travel to Midland.
Perfect. So you mentioned the ALIS population. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. For those that don't know, ALIS is not technically in that poverty threshold. They are above what the government says poverty is, but they're really living one paycheck above that level. So anything that could go wrong, car breakdown, house issue, anything like that, they're really one paycheck away from that poverty level. So it's another area that we really focus on besides just the kids that are living in poverty.
And I know you're looking, as you mentioned earlier, on potential. So when a child comes to you, how do you make an assessment on what's the best fit, and how can we serve you, and how do we help you reach your potential?
What makes us different from a lot of other mentoring organizations is the fact that we do look at it on a person-to-person basis. So we do have a wait list, and part of the reason for that is not only because we need more mentors, but also because we want to make sure we're putting kids with the right mentor. So we're not just going to take one child and one adult in the community, put them together, and expect to have a positive outcome. We want to make sure that there are similar interests, that there are similar values there, and that we are, through all of it, making child safety our number one priority. So if we have a child who's super into theater or something like that, we're probably not going to match them with a big whose biggest hobbies are baseball and fishing, something like that. We want to make sure that it's going to be a good fit so we can reach that minimum 1-year goal of match length. And by doing that, we've seen some matches who have lasted 20, 30, 40. I even talked to a pair the other day, actually. They had been matched they were matched when they were younger, and they've still been friends 50 years later.
I've got a friend, she raised 4 girls, and when the 3 oldest left, she wanted somebody else in her daughter's life. So they signed up for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I think all through junior high, all through high school. She's since married and left the area, but I know every time she comes back to Midland, they are still in touch with this girl that's become a part of their family.
Yeah, it's truly, you mentioned that, that's an absolute thing. Like these are people who are getting invited to family Thanksgivings, to Christmas functions, and maybe they're going up north for the weekend. They're going to take their little with them at a certain point in time because they've developed that true bond. They really are like family, and that's always wonderful to hear stories like that.
Those success stories have to be very gratifying, both in the short term and the long term.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what makes our job so much fun, is to hear these past stories. And one of the unique things that I have found is, you're doing this for the littles, but you talk to the bigs.
It's a win-win.
And you're changing their lives just as much as you're changing the littles. So it just really gets you on both sides.
I love organizations where it's a win-win for everybody.
Exactly.
Perfect. All right. So somebody calls you up from a school, or a teacher refers. What happens next?
We go through a long process. So our process to make a match really takes about 25 hours.
Wow.
So we do interviews with the little to find out, like Matt said, sort of their interests, their hobbies, what they're looking for. We interview the parent to find out what the parent's looking for in that relationship, what the kid is interested in, what challenges they're facing from the kid's side of things. Then we also interview the bigs, or the mentors, the volunteers, and go through that. We do full background checks on the mentors and multi-layered background checks. And one of the great things is it's not just the one place they live, but it's the previous 5. Matt said safety is important. It's our number 1 priority. We go and do home visits for both the bigs and the littles to make sure, as they're out in the community making those connections, that they feel safe in each location. And then it goes through, matching those kids, pairing them up, having the meeting, introducing them to each other, and getting that match on the right foot.
So if you get a wonderful mentor, a big, and you get a wonderful little, but you just don't have the quite match, what do you do with those people in the meantime?
So that's where Matt spends a lot of his time setting up events to keep those people engaged with our organization, have different things that they can go and do. I think recently we just went to a spirit game.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, they've been a wonderful partner throughout the years with allowing our bigs and littles the opportunity to go attend games in a limo and be able to enjoy some pizza and meet the team, behind the scenes, and having other opportunities to keep folks engaged throughout the process. And we do have a wait list, 56 kids right now throughout our region that we're looking to get matched, and that's where a lot of our priority just comes with letting people know about Big Brothers Big Sisters and letting them know that you can be a mentor, you can have an impact on a child, and there is a child in need in our community right now who could use your support. And once we can get all those kids off the wait list, we'll know we have great quality matches for everyone.
Do you have any adults that are on the wait list that you're looking for a perfect match for a child? Little?
At this time, I don't believe we have any adults on the wait list, but we are right in the middle of a large recruitment campaign, so I anticipate we're going to have plenty of adults looking for littles pretty soon, because we've seen quite a few new match inquiries come in the last few weeks.
Okay, so besides spirit games, what else?
We have some great opportunities that we're able to present to our littles throughout the course of the year. We do really focus on that one-to-one opportunity. So instead of holding so many group outings, we want to make sure we're helping provide our bigs the opportunity to do more engaging opportunities with their littles. So we do stress low or no cost activities for the most part. So not the big activities. We're talking going to the park. We're talking maybe going to a Loons game, something like that together. But we've also received a few opportunities to do some pretty exciting larger range items too. And one of those great opportunities a couple of years ago that came from a former big of ours was she actually made a fund called the Daisy Fund in the name of her former little Daisy. And this was a grant that we were giving to give our bigs and littles truly unique opportunities to do something that they would never be able to do without that funding. And with Daisy Fund money, we've been able to send people to Pistons and Red Wings games. We've been able to send them to the museums in Chicago. We sent a couple matches to Mackinac Island, Cedar Point, things like that. So that has been a truly unique blessing that we've had to be able to provide those truly unique opportunities. And as we continue to grow in the community a little bit more people know who we are, more people see the impact of Big Brothers Big Sisters, we're being given more opportunities from local groups to, hey, your bigs and littles should come, do this event with us, or here's some coupons so your bigs and littles can attend, different opportunities like that have been always rising, and we love that opportunity to spread the joy of mentoring throughout the community.
Well, I love the focus on the one-on-one and the smaller, because I think that is where you make the best connection. So the big things like Cedar Point and Mackinac Island, those are memory events, but that's not necessarily where you're going to build the relationship that exists for 50 years, that goes on as long as you're both around, that goes on whether you live in the area or we're not. And maybe where you make the biggest difference in their life, helping with homework, teaching you how to cook a meal, going to the park.
Exactly. Like, I know I spoke to a match recently. The big was saying that her little had never tried a blueberry before. And they went to, they went to the supermarket and they tried out, some unique foods, and then they went home and cooked a meal together that they never had before. Things like that, those little things that many of us take for granted on a day-to-day basis when you're dealing with a child who maybe has a single parent who's working 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet, or, maybe is struggling with some other things in life. Having that person who takes that time to do those little day-to-day activities with them is the true memory that lasts longer than, like you said, any, baseball game or any event like that could do.
Which are still great events, but it's the one-on-one that I think are the life-changing events.
And that's the hallmark of Big Brothers Big Sisters, and it has been. I mean, we have been in the region for 60 years, and nationally it's over 100 years of mentoring, and it's always been that one-to-one, and that sets us apart from other organizations.
So how did you two end up at Big Brothers Big Sisters?
I'm actually in my role now for just 6 months, but I spent 9 years on the board of directors previous to this. So for me, it's an organization I loved. I got introduced to it, through the board of directors. It's always been near and dear to my heart since that time. I saw the impact, and as I was looking to make a change in my career for family reasons, this seemed like a no-brainer. So I joined 6 months ago, and it's been a wonderful time so far.
Great.
I have a background in communications and media, which, made this job opportunity a perfect thing. But what made Big Brothers Big Sisters like the fit that I was most excited about was I really wanted to have a position that allowed me to give back to the community in some way, shape, or form. Like, I really wanted to be able to say I'm making a difference every day, and I'm really proud to say that that's what I'm doing with this position right now. So being able to utilize my skills in communication and design elements and event planning and stuff like that, and make a difference in kids' lives is truly rewarding.
Well, and if you make it a difference early, then it just changes the trajectory for the rest of their lives.
And that's something that we try to educate people about. These changes that we're making today are not just about today. It's about today, tomorrow, and the future. And it's not just about one kid. It's about the community. You change, that one kid, and it's going to affect the community. You change 5, that's going to be a bigger impact. 10, 15, you just add that up.
And for years into the future, too, I would think.
Absolutely. And a lot of what we're doing is preventative. We measure some of our outcomes, but a lot of what we measure or what we do can't be measured. It's keeping kids out of this, that, or the other thing that could cause problems down the road. So, we really look at us as a preventative organization that is focused on kids today, but that change into the future.
So you've got 56 kids waiting, 19 in Midland. So if somebody wants to get a hold of you and volunteer for Big Brothers Big Sisters, what's the best way for them to reach out?
The absolute easiest way is to go to our website, bbbsgreatlakesbay.org. You can click on the Be a Big page, or if you want to jump right to it, createbigchange.org will also take you right there. There's some great information on that page about being a big. You've got some success stories from some of our previous bigs that you can take a look at if you want to. Or our offices are always open for a phone call as well. As we mentioned earlier, we do have employees in all 4 counties that we serve. If you give us a call at 844-4BE-A-BIG, that's 844-4BE-A-BIG. Someone at the office would be really happy to answer any of your questions and get you in touch with the match coordinator that could help you change a life.
Great. Well, let's talk about some of the impacts. We've talked kind of generally overall. Let's talk about some of the impacts that you've seen.
Sure. I mean, that's one of the great things about what we do is we measure. So we do surveys of our youth when the match starts, on throughout the match, at the end of every year, and at the match close. And what we've really found is we are making a difference. 74% of the kids that come through our program have improved scholastic competency and confidence in their learning abilities. So you can see that in their grades and what they're doing as we're making that impact. 84% of the kids are exhibiting less risk-taking behaviors. So something that they might have done earlier, they're starting to realize the consequences or the actions that can come from those negative situations that they've been in, and they're changing their ways and changing what they're doing and really changing the projection of their futures.
Well, and if kids' self-esteem is growing and somebody says, hey, let's do something a little risky or maybe just not as smart, they have the confidence to say, I think I could skip that one. And maybe you should skip it too. Let's go do something else.
Exactly. A lot of the kids, like we've heard before, kids saying, I didn't think I mattered, or what I did mattered, before I had my big tell me that it does matter. So thinking that doing that bad item, either they're reaching out for attention or they just don't think it's going to make an impact. Having that person to say, no, this actually not only is going to hurt the people around you, but this could also hurt your future, really helps them think twice before they make that poor choice, or, just really makes them not want to make poor choices, but make better choices that are going to set them up for more success in the future.
Well, and I love the part where you get the parent a little bit involved. I know we often are telling our kids good information, and they sometimes need to hear it from another adult that they respect for it to have the same impact as parents as telling them one more time.
Yeah, I think we've all learned in our life our parents were way smarter than we gave them credit for when we were kids. But exactly, one of the misconceptions about being a volunteer or being a big is you're a substitute parent. That's not what you are. You're a friend, you're a mentor. That same information that your parents give that comes from a volunteer or a mentor is going to be taken way differently and have much more impact.
Well, and I liked where you talked to the parents of these kids too. So you figure out what the parent's looking for. Because a child may come in and say, I just want somebody to play with me. That's all I want. And the parent may say, somebody that can occasionally do homework, and set them down so I'm not always having to be the bad guy. Like, you have to do this. So to mix the positive with the constructive growth.
Yeah, and that's important for us, is to continue throughout the match, checking in with all the parties involved and making sure that they're all getting what they need out of this. The parent, the little, and the big.
All right, so 75% of children have had a mentor for at least 1 year, continue their education, and graduate with a 4-year degree. How did you track that one?
That is a stat from the National Big Brothers Big Sisters organization. And if you compare that to kids that are in similar situations but didn't have a mentor, only 13% continue to graduate college.
Very telling.
So it again, we always say mentoring makes a difference, and I think that's one of the more telling stats. We're showing these kids a future that sometimes they don't see. Some of the situations they're in, no one's been to college. No one talks about college. They don't know that's even an option for them. And by having that mentor in their life that can talk to them, show them how you go about getting scholarships, getting grants, getting different things that make it possible for these kids to go to school and the life that they can have, it makes a difference, and that stat really shows that.
I'm going to switch gears just a touch. All right, skilled trades is getting to be a huge issue these days. Are you finding same thing with college, that kids are wanting to be more interested and learn about skilled trades?
Absolutely, and the stat says college because it is a few years old, but a lot of the different things that we sit on, college access networks and stuff like that, college now has sort of become the term that takes on both what your traditional college
what you're
and
doing
your
next.
and that career path that you need a certificate, you need 2 years of experience. So it does say college, but I have a feeling that if you looked at it today, it would be the same for.
It'd be the same for the STEM.
Yep.
And I can put a personal story to that as well. We actually just recently closed up a match with a couple individuals from Midland County. The adult was matched with the child who was I think it's a sophomore in high school a couple years ago when they got matched up. Child had interest in aviation and engineering and opportunities like that, but was a little shy, didn't really know how to go about doing it. And his big was a welder. And throughout the time that they were together, his big actually helped him learn about welding. And while he's now graduating high school here in December, as he's getting ready to think about postgraduate and stuff, he's interested in going to college for engineering, but in the meantime, he's going to be a welder because his big straight up told him, like, if you're a welder, you're always going to have an opportunity for a job, you're always going to be able to afford to live a comfortable life, and you can live just about anywhere you want to in the world. So we've seen that a lot of our bigs have taken that love of the skill trades and shown the kids in our programs that maybe if college, official 4-year college or 2-year college isn't the right fit for you, there are other well-paying, successful options that are out there.
I'm starting to call them gold collar jobs because they are such a need and a blessing for the kids and the parents as well.
Absolutely.
But familiar with a couple of kids that have decided, same thing, maybe engineering, but they're going to pay their way through college by welding.
Yes.
And I'm curious, as they continue to progress, whether they'll continue on that or if they're just going to fall in and decide that this is our permanent career path. But all good options.
It's good to have
All
that
good
flexibility.
Great, good options. All right, so I know you like a year commitment, but I'm curious, how young do you take kids and how late? A sophomore in high school? And how young would you start?
So our age range is really program runs 6 to 18, but
Okay.
after age 12 we don't no longer enroll kids. So those older matches have been with their bigs for a longer period of time. So our average match length is about 28 months. We do ask for that year commitment. That has sort of been the standard from Big Brothers Big Sisters nationally. That's really been shown to be that point where you're really making that difference. So we do ask for a year, but they often go on a lot longer than that.
So what are you asking for within that year?
It depends about the program that they're in. So we really have 3 different programs. We have our community base, which would be your more traditional match where one big, one little, meeting outside of schools in the community, at the homes, at the parks, going to different things that we ask for them to meet 2 to 3 times a month is all. So it's not a huge commitment. I think that's one of the misconceptions, again, is it's all this time. It's not. It's 2 to 3 times a month. That's all we're asking from them. We do also have site-based programs. So our school programs, we have Teaming Up with Youth, which is a high school kid working with elementary students.
Wow.
And that happens right in the school. So the high school kids go to the elementary school. At the end of the day, they spend an hour to an hour and a half with them once a week. And again, that same idea, helping them with homework, being a listening ear, being someone that's closer to their age that knows some of the challenges that they go through on a daily basis.
And I imagine that's going to be an impact both on the mentor, the big in this case, and the little, to maybe some of them have never had that leadership role, and to be responsible for mentoring somebody, that's pretty powerful.
It is. I mean, it's a challenge for that high school kid, but it's also a great learning experience and builds their confidence. And it's, you again see the double win on that, and it's wonderful.
And then I imagine there's some kind of continuing mentorship for these high school kids that are mentoring as they come in and they say, hey, maybe this one didn't go quite as well. What are some tips to make it more successful next time we get together? Yeah,
so I mean, we do have staff on site at all the schools to work with them and be there and to answer questions and help guide. And again, that same idea is, oh, hey, I heard this going on, maybe next time go this direction. Or they come to them afterwards and says, hey, my little's facing this situation, I don't know how to handle that. No problem, let's help you. Let me give you resources, let me also step in, and together we can work through this with that person.
And perfect, that immediate feedback is where you make the quickest changes.
Absolutely. I mean, again, these are high school students. They still are learning a lot on their own, so we need to make sure that we have trained support there on site that can help them in that situation.
So that's a year long too? Is that like a once a week?
Once a week through the school year.
Okay.
Yep. So, and again, some of those matches continue. I mean, they start, in first, second, third grade. The kid in high school, if they're early enough, those matches will go on year after year in school. And I know there are also some situations where they started it in that school-based, and then as the, big became college age, became, a community-based match with that.
All right, so you mentioned 3 programs. We've talked about 2. What's the third?
So the third is our Lunchbox Learners program. That's a program that we're running right now in Midland and Bay, and focuses on reading levels. We'll know all important third grade reading laws.
Yes.
And everything that goes along with that. And so we have a program that focuses on kids that are behind in their reading levels. They come in once a week on their lunch hour and work with adults. They get that extra time one-on-one again that helps them build that confidence, give them extra skills, extra time, and really focus on bringing them up to that level that they need to be at so their education doesn't suffer.
And the impact there could be huge as well.
Absolutely. This is a newer program, but we know that 84% of the kids that are going through this program feel more confident and their reading abilities increase. The schools have such difficult jobs in the classroom of taking care of 20 to 30 kids at a time, and they do wonderful jobs. But sometimes that extra help, that one-on-one that they can provide on top of what they're already doing in the classroom makes that difference. And some of these kids, unfortunately, don't have that opportunity at home with their parents. Those parents are working multiple jobs and stuff, so they're not able to get that extra reading at home, so that extra reading there at school makes a difference. It builds their confidence, it builds their love of reading. And I think that's the big key in a lot of these situations is they come into it not wanting to read. They're looking at it as this isn't fun. But now all of a sudden we have this mentor, we have this person that I have a relationship. I look forward to that person coming in. I do this, and start to pick up that love of reading. And once that
Give
happens,
a lifelong love, maybe.
yes,
Yes,
once that
lifelong.
happens, the reading levels increase greatly.
Yeah, as I say, the concept of growth mindset finds its way through our art reading program in particular a lot, and we see that with a lot of kids. Like, they go into this saying, I can't read, I'm not any good at this, and it really is our mentors who help them shift that mindset from I can't do it to I can't do it yet, or this is too hard now, but I'm going to get there. And it's really impressive to see that transformation happen throughout the course of the school year, and to see these kids jumping up 1, 2, or more reading grade levels in a relatively short amount of time. So
It is amazing. We had one that took longer to read, but when he did read, you talk about the growth that came, and it was almost overnight. So how early do you start lunchbook learners?
Yes, tongue twister. Again, it starts it's first grade through third grade.
Okay.
So if they're identified in that first grade or that second grade level, we'll definitely take them into that program. A lot of it focuses on third grade, as that's really where it's make or break time.
But I think developing the love for books will get you there, so they'll hang in there while it's not easy yet.
Yes.
absolutely.
All right. What else would you like to share with us?
One thing I'd like to note about what we do a little bit, and one thing we talk about, is our real guiding principle is potential. And that's a big thing I want to emphasize on with people, that we believe all kids have the potential to do something great.
They do.
And the job of a mentor is not to create that potential, but it's to defend it, to ignite it, and to empower it. So when we're looking for volunteers to be a part of these programs, people who say, I'm not a teacher, or I've never been a parent before, I don't know how to work with kids, the potential is already there. We're just looking for that individual who's going to help along the way a little bit to help them realize that potential and to ignite it in them. So when we see common myths about mentoring that people are afraid of, we talked about the stand-in parent thing. You're a friend, you're not a parent, you're there to help them with that potential. We talked about the time commitment. 2 to 3 times a month doing low or no cost activities can make a world of difference for these kids.
Absolutely.
People say, like, I don't know if I can handle this. Every single adult has something they can bring to a child who could use a life-changing mentor. If you don't think you can be a mentor, I'm confident you absolutely can. And if you don't know what to do with your littles, we have those wonderful match coordinators on our staff who can help you along the way. They're going to be there to answer your questions, to help you along with challenges, and really make sure that that match is not only rewarding for the child, but for the adults in the program as well.
I think that's really important to notice, is that it's not we just make a match and we send you out and we're done. We're not hands off. We are there. We're making contact with those matches monthly basis, quarterly basis, and making sure that each side has what they need. So as a volunteer, you will get support from us.
Scott, Matt, thank you so much for what you do, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
We appreciate it.
And thank you for joining us.